I'm going over the absolutely essential basics to joining my secret society called Hraftzer Society. This is based on experience. Now, let's say if you want to work for McDonald's as a low-level or mid-level manager. This is a really simple job that even a high school dropout could do. This is the most basic thing in the world you could possibly do, is work for McDonald's. Okay? You're probably going to take a 45-minute personality test. It might take a little longer, it might take a little bit less time, depending on how fast you take it. But they're going to ask for about 45 minutes of your time to take a test. There may be 200 questions on the test. They're also going to ask you to show up at a certain time, at a certain place to do an interview or to fill out your paperwork. And you will have to set a schedule and show up to work and orientation on time, at the right place and the right time. If they say 5 o'clock Thursday, you need to be there. McDonald's will also likely do a background check on you. Not always, but it's very possible. They'll do a criminal background check on top of the test they gave you. And after that, once you're hired, you're probably going to go through some basic training. It may take a week, may take 2 weeks, but they'll probably give you an employee handbook, a 100-page book for you to read about McDonald's culture, about the rules at McDonald's, the expectations, the how and why. And you'll probably train for a couple weeks just to do this really simple job. Nobody would find that to be strange. Like, if you cannot come into McDonald's and say, I want to be a manager. And McDonald's says, okay, we don't need to know anything about you. We don't need a background check. You can just show up whenever you feel like it. Whenever it's good for you. Don't even call ahead of time. Just show up and we'll let you manage the place. And we don't need to train you. We're not going to ask you to read any books. And you're now a manager. Here's your membership card. You know, that would be silly. That would be total bullshit. Okay. And let's look at even the Army. The Army tends to take people from the bottom of society. And I don't mean that in a derogatory manner. I really respect the military and anybody that goes into it. But the people that go in there are not typically, other than maybe the officers, they're not people who are doctors and lawyers and geniuses. They tend to be, you know, relatively average people who are from a poor background or something like that. And the Army does not have high standards. It doesn't take much to hold a rifle, really. But they're going to give you an ASVAB test, which is very similar to an IQ test. And it's measuring your reasoning ability and your verbal and mathematical aptitude, your ability to solve problems as well. Besides the ASVAB test, they're going to do a criminal background check on you. Even after you do that, you're going to go to boot camp, where you learn the culture of the Army, where you learn what's expected of you. You learn the habits, the goals, the camaraderie. It's very basic. That's why it's called basic training. Now, Hraftzer Society is the same way, because we take this seriously. This is simple stuff. I mean, asking you to do a background check or read a 300-page book or look at a website, it doesn't take that long. You can read a 300-page book in one day. I mean, it could take maybe a couple hours, 2 or 3 hours to read cover to cover. But you could skim through it in 20 minutes and get the idea of what most of it is about. You can look at the website. It would take you a half hour to read all of it, maybe an hour at the most. Much less to kind of skim through it and read maybe half of it. It doesn't take much to submit a background check or to schedule a date and time and show up and meet me and get to know me, or meet with another member and go through an orientation and a sit-down session of what your goals are, what you expect from the society, and what the society expects from you. Just basic things. Now, typically, most people don't take the society seriously. They think it's a fantasy, it's an online game or something like that. They're so used to internet fantasies where they're a member of a club and all they have to do is type in their name and they're a member and they get a membership card. And there's no real activity going on in that club. Or they're used to these cults, these churches and stuff that cater to everybody. You just walk in and you're a member, but they're not really doing anything other than collecting their members' money and giving sermons. Hraftzer society is very basic, it's very simple, but we're real. We're going to work together to share information, such as what are the best business techniques, what legality, what are legal issues, what are the best supplements to take, what are the best martial arts techniques, anything for people who are interested in self-improvement. But the information has to be accurate. We can't have bullshitters come in here and make stuff up and share false information and techniques that don't work. We have to filter that out. Similarly, we're about friendship and camaraderie above all. We're not a business club. We're about community and a sense of identity, like a gang or something. We're not a gang, we're not a criminal group, but I mean, we're like just a community, But at the same time, if we schedule a trip to Las Vegas, you have to schedule that a year in advance. You have to be able to take the time off of work. You have to be able to book the hotels, book the flights, save the money, whatever's necessary. Like, you can't just wake up in the morning and say, okay, everybody, we're going to Vegas. I mean, it's just common sense stuff. If you're going to do a joint investment, if you want to get into real estate investment, you have to learn the basics of real estate. You have to read a book. These are just basic requirements. And repeatedly, the problem I encounter is people don't take it seriously. They say, okay, I'm a genius, my IQ is 160, so I'm good. Well, that's fine, but I need you to take an IQ test. I have a basic intelligence test here. Or you can go take one at a psychologist and submit the results to me. Oh, I don't need to take an IQ test, I'm a genius. Well, look, I mean, if you go to McDonald's, you don't tell them, my personality's fine, I don't need to take your personality test. You have to take it. I mean, these are basic standards, basic requirements. I tell them, okay, if you're interested in a society, let's set a time and date to meet. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll definitely do that. Well, let's do it now. Oh, I'll get back to you, I'm definitely interested. Okay, I need a date and time to meet you. Oh, I'll do it later, I'll get back, a week later. Are you still interested in a society? Yes, I am. Can you meet me here? Oh, I don't have a car. That's no problem. I'll meet you. You take a bus downtown. Oh, I'll get back with you later. It's just all a big game, and I need people to take this seriously. Okay, we're not asking much from you. Everything is very basic, the bare minimum, but we do have standards, and we are serious. This is about being a winner. This is about being successful. A lot of people are all talk, no action. They live in a fantasy. They talk about getting rich or doing this or that, and it's all fantasy to them. This is not a fantasy. Everything I've done is carefully researched. I'm highly educated. People may stereotype me as not being that way because my accent isn't right, or I'm not wearing a suit or something, But in reality, everything here is carefully researched, carefully thought out. Everything we do, like I said, if we're recommending a vitamin or supplement, we've tested it, we've taken it ourselves, we've had experience. We don't just make stuff up. If we're interested in certain skill sets, we go to college, we get a degree in that skill set. We study, we study martial arts at schools, and we apply it in real situations if we're doing martial arts. So this is not some loser community. This is like, we have very basic, very easy standards. It's very laid back, but they are real. We are for real. We're not playing around. If you cannot put your money where your mouth is, you don't need to be here. If you can't perform, you don't need to be here. You know, you have to have the other guy's back. If you talk about being tough and then there's a threat and you run away, you're not a member of the society anymore. I mean, we're not violent, we're not into conflict like that, but that's what I'm saying, is that we are action. We're not about talking all the time, we're about doing. It's similar with investing. We need people. You can't just sit here and talk about investing, you have to do it. You know, you can't talk about being in a community but then never meet up with people and never do anything. Something as simple as going bowling on a Friday night, I cannot find people to do that. They all want to get high, stare at a wall, be drunk, or work all the time for low wages. It's very hard to get people to just actually do the most basic and simple things. You know, show up for a bowling trip that we planned well in advance. Actually read a book and educate yourself on real estate and go into a joint real estate investment. Actually do real martial arts training and come together, and we're going to train in realistic martial arts or yoga or anything like that. Gardening, we'll do a community garden, but you have to show up and actually garden and actually know what you're doing, or at least listen to instructions and be willing to learn. Now, nearly everyone I deal with, they're losers. They can't grow a garden correctly. They don't read books, they don't learn, they don't try, they don't put any effort. They just say, why try, we'll fail anyway. And I'm tired of dealing with those people. That's why the society's here. It's here to get people who are realistic and serious about life. We're not asking much of your time, we're not asking for money, we're not asking for hardly anything, except that you meet the same basic standards that McDonald's would ask from you. McDonald's asks you to take these basic evaluations, or just about any job, and then they're going to ask you to actually show up on time to work and to actually work. Now, you can't go to the manager at McDonald's and say, oh, I want to flip burgers, I'm all about flipping burgers and blah blah blah, but then you show up to McDonald's and you just refuse to flip the burgers. It's too much work, why try, I'll just fail at flipping it. You know, you have to perform. And even though McDonald's is the easiest thing, I mean, it's a simple job that even a complete moron could do, you actually it still has standards. Like, you have to do it. For some reason, people would take Hraftzer society like it's not serious. You know, this is stuff that just about anybody should be able to do it, unless you're completely retarded or something. You should be able to plan things and just show up and have a good time or something, but you have to take it seriously and actually do it. It's just like if you come into McDonald's, you don't show up on time, no call, no show, you show up late. When you do show up, you don't want to work, you don't do what you said you were going to do, you're not reliable, you're not trustworthy, McDonald's is going to fire you. Okay, if you join Hraftzer society and you're acting like that, you say you're going to show up but you don't, and then you say you're going to do an investment but you don't do it, or you're not educating yourself, you don't know what you're doing, you're screwing everything up, then you're going to be out of Hraftzer society. You know, we expect a certain level of standards, a certain level of professionalism that needs to exist just for everybody's sake. Just it makes the society pleasant. Now, you can go on every street corner, there's a church. Almost all of them cater to the lowest people. They have no standards. In fact, the dumber you are, the better. There's all kinds of groups and communities for losers, for drug addicts and Alcoholics Anonymous, and there's all kinds of charities, there's all kinds of clubs for people that are dumb, for people that are losers, for people that have problems. There's very few clubs, other than those aimed at the super wealthy, there's very few clubs that actually cater to healthy people, to people that actually have their stuff together, have their mind together, have their life together. So Hraftzer society is filling that niche. We offer a unique service. We're something that nobody else is doing. Nobody else is creating a club that has standards and that has expectations and that's taking things seriously. I mean, you don't have to put much effort into it, and you can have huge results, both financially speaking and also in terms of having a good time, because you accomplish more working together than working alone. Even something as simple as picking up a girl. If you go to a bar and pick up a girl, most people realize that having a wingman greatly enhances your chances. Just having another person there working with you. The person could just stand there and do nothing. But having a teammate enhances your abilities. So that's all.